It's Mrs. Spitz, and today we're doing a lesson called, graphing on a number line. All right, so you should write that in your composition book. You can pause this so you have that written down. And there's several important points that you need to write down with that. So we'll be doing equations. If your equation has an equal sign, then you will graph a solid dot with that, right? And you'll understand this better when I go over the examples. If you have greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, you'll have a solid dot and an arrow for that solution. Or if you just have greater than or less than, you'll have a hollow dot and an arrow, okay? So those are important notes. Make sure that you can pause the video and make sure you write those down in your composition book. And then I'm gonna do some examples, okay? All right. Did you pause it? Oh, you're still running. Okay, so the first example is, we have here 3w equals a -9. So we are just going to solve this equation the way we usually solve equations, right? If the 3 and the w are multiplied together and we want to isolate the w, we'll divide by 3 and divide by 3, okay? And then cancel those 3's, and we have w is equal to, now we have a negative divided by a positive, which will be negative. 9 divided by 3 is 3. All right? So remember we said before that if it has an equal sign, it's going to be a solid dot. So to graph this, I'm going to come over here. And like this will, let's say this is example 1. On here, I'll have example 1. So to graph it, I'm just going to use a solid dot because it's equal, and it will be at -3. So I'll come here and I'll graph that as -3, okay? Excuse me. All right, now I'm going to do another example. And that one will be example 2. I think I can fit this on the board as well. And it will be n plus 8 is greater than or equal to 3. So remember when we have that greater than or less than symbol, we just pretend that it's just an equal there for a minute while we find out what does n equal, right? So here's addition. We'll do the additive inverse, which is -8 or -8 there, right? So now we have n is greater than or equal to a -5, because 3 plus a -8 or 3 minus 8 will be -5. So remember when we looked over here before, if we have the greater than or equal to, we'll have a solid dot and an arrow. So I go over here to number 2, and I'm going to graph this as a -5. I'm going to come to -5, and I'll have a solid dot. Now, because I don't want to show my arrow on the number line, I'm actually going to put a little extender line here, okay? It's going to go up. And then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to write, because it's greater than, it'll be that way, okay? And show that the solution set then could be -5, or it could be any number greater than that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So it shows that on the number line. Okay, I'm going to do another example so we can see a couple of these. So this will be example 3. And this problem is 3n minus 5 is less than 7. All right? So let's see what we get with this. So of course we want to get rid of this constant first, so we'll plus 5 here, we'll plus 5. So 3n, now we have that isolated, is less than what's 7 plus 5, which would be 12, right? Now I still need to get rid of that 3, so I'll divide by 3 here, divide by 3. So now I have my variable isolated. It's going to be less than 12 divided by 3 is 4, all right? So when I go to my number line, remember if I had just less than or greater than, I have a hollow dot now and an arrow. So for number 3 here, I'm going to find my 4, and I'm going to put a circle around that. It's a hollow dot, okay? But it said n is less than 4, so any number here, I'm going to make my little extender again up here, and then I'm going to go the opposite way down the number line, less than, okay? So that means that any of those numbers down that way will solve the solution for that graph, okay? So let's do one more. Okay, I can move this board, and I have another board. This will be example 4, all right? So now I'm going to take the equation x plus 1 is less than or equal to 2, okay? So I want to isolate the variable. I'll subtract 1 here and 1 here. So x is less than or equal to 2 minus 1 is 1, okay? So remember, if that's less than or equal to, when I went over here, I have a solid dot now and an arrow. So for number 4, I look at my number line and I find a 1 and I put a solid dot and I have to have it less than, right? So it's going to go up, little extender, and then it'll go less than over to the negative side here. Why do I put that little extender on it? Just because if you're on the number line, sometimes when you're using a pencil, you can't see which way your line is going. That's why I like to do that little extender up that way, okay? All right, I hope that gives you enough of an example. If you are having a little confusion with this, you can always check in with me later and we can do some work on our own. I hope that gives you a couple of different examples, but I don't want to make this video too long, all right? So have a nice evening, and I will see you in class. Bye-bye.